A 16-year-old boy weighed 59 pounds when paramedics found him. 59 pounds. That's the weight of an average 7-year-old. He was nonverbal. He was autistic. He couldn't walk to the door and ask for help. He couldn't call 911. He couldn't tell a neighbor, a teacher, or a stranger on the street that something was wrong. And for months, according to prosecutors, the two women responsible for keeping him alive allegedly just didn't. His twin brother was in the next room. Same age, same diagnosis, also starving. One of them didn't survive. Today we're breaking down everything we know about the death of Adonis Jarvis, how it happened, who's been charged, what the city's own child welfare agency knew years before this ever made headlines, and why neighbors say they never heard a single warning sign. Let's get into it. On March 19, 2026, an ambulance brought a critically ill teenage boy to Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx. His name was Adonis Jarvis. He was 16 years old, autistic, and nonverbal, meaning he could not speak for himself in any way. When hospital staff examined him, they found a body in a state of extreme neglect. He weighed just 59 pounds. For context, the average healthy weight for a 16-year-old boy is well over 130 pounds. He was less than half of that. He didn't make it. Adonis was pronounced dead at the hospital. Doctors immediately flagged the case as suspicious, and police were called in. What they found didn't look like a sudden illness. It looked like the result of something ongoing, something that had been happening for a long time. The city's Office of the Chief Medical Examiner performed an autopsy, and their conclusion was blunt. They ruled Adonis's death a homicide, listing the cause as chronic neglect, specifically starvation and dehydration of a disabled, dependent individual. That phrase, dependent individual, matters. Adonis wasn't a child who could fend for himself if the fridge was empty. He relied completely on the adults around him for food, water, and basic care. And according to the medical examiner, that care simply stopped. But the story didn't end with Adonis. Investigators quickly discovered something even more disturbing. Adonis had a twin brother, same age, also diagnosed with autism, also nonverbal. When police and caseworkers found him inside the family's apartment, he was alive, but barely. He weighed about 60 pounds. Investigators compared that to his last documented doctor's visit back in August 2024 and found he had lost roughly 20 pounds since then. Both boys, prosecutors say, were covered in bed sores, feces, and flies. Both were severely malnourished. Both had a documented history of seizures tied to their condition. According to the Bronx District Attorney's Office, the twins weren't just neglected. They were reportedly kept in separate rooms, unable to walk, unable to communicate, while the adults responsible for them went about their lives. The surviving twin was hospitalized and is said to be undergoing a long recovery. His condition sparked the investigation that would eventually lead to murder charges. Here's where it gets even more disturbing. It took 4 months after Adonis's death for anyone to actually be arrested. On July 30th, 2026, police took 2 women into custody, Geneva Jarvis, 36, the boy's mother, and Denise Jarvis, 62, their grandmother. Both were charged with second-degree murder in connection with Adonis's death. They also face manslaughter, depraved indifference assault, and endangering the welfare of an incompetent person, tied to the treatment of the surviving twin. At their arraignment, Bronx Assistant District Attorney Siobhan McHale laid out the prosecution's case, describing 2 boys who were unable to walk or communicate, kept apart from each other, and simply not fed, while, she said, the defendants went about their lives. Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark didn't mince words either, saying the 2 women failed in their basic duty to care for these boys. Both Geneva and Denise Jarvis pleaded not guilty. Both were ordered held without bail, and as part of the case, they've been ordered to stay away from the surviving twin entirely. Neither woman said a word as they were walked out of the 40th precinct in handcuffs. The family lived in a 3rd-floor walk-up on East 147th Street in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. According to the building superintendent, the apartment was in horrific condition, described as filled with garbage and clothes strewn everywhere. He says he repeatedly asked to come in and make repairs, and was repeatedly put off. He also recalled the night Adonis died. He says when the ambulance was called, the family didn't keep the boy inside the apartment. They brought him out into the hallway. A detail he says he still can't make sense of. And yet, this is the part that keeps coming up. Almost none of the neighbors saw it coming. Multiple people who lived near the Jarvis family told reporters the same thing. Nothing seemed alarming. One neighbor said she used to see the twins get on the same school bus as her own special needs daughter, and nothing about it stood out to her. She said the boys were tall and slim, and she just assumed that was part of their condition, not a sign that they were being starved. Another neighbor said the family simply kept to themselves. She said she was shocked and that something like this should never happen. One woman even said she'd given the family diapers for the boys in the past and had offered her phone number in case they ever needed help. That's often how these cases go. From the outside, a family that's struggling with a disabled child's care can look a lot like a family that's simply private, or overwhelmed, or coping quietly. The truth was apparently hidden in plain sight. But here's the part that should really concern you. According to police sources, this was not the first time the family had been on the radar of New York City's Administration for Children's Services, ACS, the agency responsible for investigating exactly this kind of abuse and neglect. Back in 2014, ACS reportedly investigated a complaint that Geneva Jarvis was not giving her children their seizure medication. Then, a decade later, in 2024, the agency received another report, this time that the family's apartment was unlivable. According to police sources, ACS investigated and determined the children were not in any danger. Less than a year after that finding, Adonis Jarvis was dead. ACS has said only that it is investigating the case alongside the NIPD and has largely declined to comment further, citing state confidentiality rules around child welfare cases. We don't yet know exactly what that 2024 visit looked like or why caseworkers concluded the children were safe. But the timeline alone, a welfare complaint in 2024, followed by a starvation death in 2025, followed by murder charges in 2026, is the kind of gap that tends to trigger serious scrutiny of the agency itself, not just the family. Right now, Geneva and Denise Jarvis are being held without bail, awaiting trial on murder and related charges. The surviving twin is reportedly recovering, under the care of people who are not his mother or grandmother. This case raises hard questions that go beyond one apartment in the Bronx, about how a nonverbal, disabled child disappears from a system that's supposed to be watching, about how neighbors can live next door to something like this and see nothing, and about what happens in the gap between a welfare check that says no danger and a medical examiner's report that says otherwise. We'll be following this story as it moves through the courts, and we'll update you the moment there's new information. If you want us to keep covering cases like this, hit subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think should happen next, both to the people charged and to the system that cleared this family 2 years ago. Thanks for watching.